Punggol was supposed to be Singapore's water town, a 21st century eco-paradise with waterfront living and cycling paths connecting everything. They announced this vision in 1996. Residents moved in starting 2011. For the first 5 years, those residents had no mall, no supermarket within walking distance, no clinic. The nearest anything was a 20-minute bus ride away. They sold people waterfront apartments, then forgot to build the town around them. The Punggol 21 Plus plan promised kayaking, waterfront dining, and community gardens. What residents got was construction dust for a decade and a single kopitiam serving 40,000 people. Today, Punggol houses 200,000 residents but has fewer amenities per capita than towns half its size. The MRT station opened in 2003 without the actual line connected. It sat there, a ghost station, for 8 years until trains finally arrived in 2011. The cycling paths they advertised? They connect parks to parks, not homes to MRT stations. You can bike to enjoy nature, but commuting to work means sardine packing into buses with everyone else. They called it Watertown. Residents call it Waiting Town.
Woodlands. Woodlands sits at Singapore's northern tip, so close to Malaysia you can smell the satay across the causeway. The government positioned it as a regional center that would rival the CBD. That was 30 years ago. Woodlands is still waiting for its promotion. The MRT takes 45 minutes to reach Raffles Place, assuming no breakdowns, which is a bold assumption. The Thomson East Coastline was supposed to fix this. It's still being built in phases while residents grow old commuting. The town was designed around industrial estates and the Causeway checkpoint, so the vibe is less vibrant hub and more permanent transit zone. Walk through Woodlands on a weekend and count the travelers dragging luggage to JB versus actual residents enjoying public spaces. They built the Causeway Point Mall right next to the bus interchange, creating a permanent traffic jam of people, buses, and Malaysia-bound cars. The regional center has one major mall surrounded by HDB blocks stretching endlessly in every direction. Residents commute an average of 75 minutes daily, each way. That's 2.5 hours in transit every single day in a country that's 50 kilometers wide. The government promised decentralization. What Woodlands got was geographical punishment for affordable housing.
Jurong. Jurong's origin story tells you everything you need to know. It was built as Singapore's industrial zone in the 1960s. Factories, refineries, shipyards. The government later decided to add housing because apparently living next to petrochemical plants is a lifestyle choice. The Jurong Lake District was announced as Singapore's second CBD. That was 2008. Today, it's still mostly the same industrial-adjacent town with a few newer condos and a lot of promises. Jurong East MRT is the most chaotic interchange in the country. 3 lines converge in a station designed before anyone anticipated current crowds. During rush hour, you don't walk through Jurong East. You're carried by the human current. The Jurong Region line was supposed to connect the western sprawl. It's delayed until 2027 at earliest. Residents in Tengah, Jurong West, and Choa Chu Kang continue sardine packing into buses. They built the Science Center here in 1977 to attract families. Then they surrounded it with expressways. Taking your kids to learn about science means driving past petroleum storage facilities and inhaling whatever that smell is near the refineries. The IMM Outlet Mall sits next to IKEA, creating weekend traffic so severe that the car park queues become a tourist attraction themselves. Jurong was designed for factories, not families. 60 years later, you can still tell.
Tengah. Tengah is Singapore's newest town, and they're making the same mistakes with better marketing. They're calling it a forest town with car-free streets and eco-friendly design.
They're building HDB flats next to a military airbase and surrounding them with trees. The car-free town center sounds progressive until you realize residents will still need cars to reach anywhere outside Tenga. The nearest MRT station doesn't exist yet. The Jurong Region Line serving Tenga is perpetually coming soon. First residents moved in 2022. The promised amenities? Coming in future phases. Sound familiar? They're selling 5-room flats at record prices for a town that currently has no mall, no hawker center, no polyclinic, and no direct train connection. You're paying premium prices for nature views that are actually just undeveloped plots waiting for Phase 2. The forest they're preserving? It's the former Tenga Air Base and live firing ranges. They're literally building homes on former military training ground and calling it eco-living. The car light vision assumes perfect feeder bus connections. Current residents report 30-minute waits for buses that arrive already full. Singapore learned nothing from Punggol. They just rebranded the same playbook.
Sembawang. Sembawang is what happens when urban planners forget an area exists. This former British naval base sits at Singapore's northern shore, technically part of the country, but functionally forgotten. For decades, the only notable thing about Sembawang was what it lacked: MRT stations, shopping options, and any reason to visit. The Sembawang MRT opened in 1996. Then nothing happened for 25 years. The town has one small mall, Sun Plaza, serving a population of 100,000 plus. Need anything beyond groceries? Take the train to Woodlands. Need variety? Train to Orchard. Want entertainment? Anywhere but here. The waterfront park is genuinely beautiful, but getting there requires navigating roads designed when the population was 1/3 of today's size. The hot spring that made Sembawang famous? It's in a park with limited operating hours, surrounded by nothing. New BTO launches bring thousands of young families into Sembawang with promises of future development. Those promises have been coming soon since the 1990s. The government allocated budget for Sembawang's transformation in 2019. The pandemic hit. Now residents are told to wait until 2030 for significant changes. Living in Sembawang means believing in a future that's always 10 years away.
Yishun has a reputation problem, and urban planning created it. Type Yishun into any Singaporean forum and you'll find endless jokes about the cursed town where bizarre incidents happen. Cats get killed, slashing attacks occur, strange behavior makes the news. But here's what nobody mentions. Yishun was designed as a dormitory town in the 1970s with minimal public spaces, inadequate mental health facilities, and density that creates pressure without release. The town houses 220,000 plus people, larger than most cities, in HDB blocks packed together with few community gathering spaces. The parks exist, but they're scattered, disconnected, afterthoughts to the housing. Ku Tek Puat Hospital is excellent, but it's the only major facility serving the entire north. Mental health services? Underfunded and overwhelmed across Singapore, but especially in high-density towns designed before anyone considered psychological well-being. Yishun's curse isn't supernatural. It's what happens when you warehouse hundreds of thousands of people in concrete towers with long commutes, few amenities, and nowhere to just exist. The government's response to Yishun's reputation? Installing more CCTV cameras, not community centers, not mental health services.
Toa Payoh is Singapore's oldest HDB town, and it shows. Built in the 1960s as a showcase for public housing, it was state-of-the-art 60 years ago.
Today, residents live in blocks designed before air conditioning was standard, before families had cars, and before anyone imagined Singapore's current population. The flats are larger than newer BTOs, but the infrastructure around them has aged. Corridors are dark and narrow. Lifts stop at every other floor in older blocks because that was acceptable in 1966. Hawker centers overflow because they were built for half the current crowd. The town's charm is really just deferred maintenance marketed as heritage. Pipes leak, paint peels. Upgrading happens, slowly, while residents wait years for their block's turn. Traffic through Toa Payoh is constant because it was designed before the PIE and CTE existed. Now it's a shortcut for everyone, turning residential streets into expressway overflow. The HDB hub sits in Toa Payoh, which means every young couple applying for a flat adds to the congestion without living there. Young Singaporeans can't afford Toa Payoh's resale flats, and elderly residents can't leave because the lease decay means their asset shrinks yearly. It's a heritage town, where the heritage is watching your home's value disappear.
Marina Bay looks incredible in photographs. Skyline shots of the sands, the Helix Bridge, the gardens by the bay, pure Instagram perfection. Now try walking there at 2 p.m. The entire district was designed as a showpiece, not a neighborhood. Glass towers reflecting heat onto pedestrians, minimal shade on waterfront promenades. The outdoor lifestyle they advertised becomes survival training when humidity hits 95%. Marina Bay has hotels, offices, casinos, and exactly 0 residents. After 6 p.m. on weekdays, the area empties like someone pulled a fire alarm. The CBD workers evacuate, tourists retreat to air conditioning, and you're left with the most expensive ghost town in Asia. The gardens by the bay cost $1 billion to build. The super trees require constant electricity to run cooling systems for the plants. Yes, they're air conditioning trees. Environmental showcase powered by environmental destruction. The F1 street circuit shuts down the entire area for weeks annually, turning roads into racetracks while everyone else sits in traffic. The Marina Bay Sands infinity pool is famous worldwide. What's less famous? The building sinks 1.5 millimeters annually into reclaimed land that wasn't designed for 200,000-ton buildings. Marina Bay is Singapore's planning philosophy made visible.